Yeah, how are we? You bunch of rude boys, hope everyone is sound. You join me for another voiced over training session. Today, we had lower rotation A, which is a hamstring dominant leg day. You might be thinking, Luke, mate, you got your quads out in the first clip. I know, I've done that to bait you in. I'm hoping you thought, he's got some decent leg development. Watch the entirety of the video, and please do. It'd be greatly appreciated. Now, you join me in a compromised state. My nervous system is well and truly battered. Vegetable mode, mate. I'm just hoping I can construct a decent sentence using the English language. This will definitely turn into a ramble, but hopefully I can provide some value along the way. So we kick things off with a lying leg curl. That's me stating the obvious. Using the prime plate loaded bit of kit. So I predominantly load the top pin here. I put 10 kilos on the mid and I just standardize that and just load the top. So went for a low progression initially. Last feeder, I was about to say first feeder. Last feeder, took 3 plates on that top. It just felt a bit too heavy. So for my first working set, I took 2 plates in a 15. That's still a low progression, so up by 2.5 key. And I was also up a rep. Second set, I took the same load, increased resistance compared to last time, and match reps, sound. I did perform 3 sets, but I didn't record all 3, clearly. But that third set was also progressed. Kept the same resistance, but I beat it by 2 reps. So a very good start to the session, as you can see from this angle. Serious bunda. I was unaware I was packing this much heat. Serious glute development. When performing this lying leg curl, you'll notice that I'm strapping into it. That's just so I can maintain position a bit easier, don't have to fight for it as much. And I find it very easy to keep my hips driven down into the pad the entire time. When performing that lying leg curl, if you find that when you get off that bit of kit, you got a crazy lower back pump, you're performing it wrong, dial it back in, just think hips down, quads down, nice neutral spine. We then moved into a hip hinge. Who'd have thought it? Not me. Now, performing a hip hinge now within my training week, as my posterior chain is as developed as a 5-year-old's. It's not ideal, mate. Improvements need to be made. This movement pattern at the minute is programmed with a heavy skill focus. So the aim of the game isn't actually to get strong at it at this stage. It's just to get comfortable and efficient at the movement pattern. I should say comfortable and efficient with the movement pattern. And I'm getting there. Video analysis is key when you are training. It's super important because sometimes a set will feel completely different to how it looks. Now looking at that top set back, God, get your words out. There's still room for improvement. I can still see some lower back rounding, so I just need to hold my brace better throughout the entirety of the set. I was tactical here and just matched previous logbook numbers, got techie with it and just aimed to be more accurate, and I achieved that. So overall, pretty happy, but I know there's still further room for improvement. Like I said, I need to brace a bit better. I'm sure if I do that next rotation, hold that brace, I'll be able to see that spine moving as one solid unit. Blood pressure PB here, absolutely love that. Of course, I mentioned the logbook then, and this is something I wanted to quickly touch upon. I was in conversation with a mate the other day who's recently started training, and he asked if using a logbook is essential to make progress. And it's not, but it helps. When it comes down to resistance training, in order to make progress, all we're trying to do over time is expose ourselves to more work. We're trying to expose our muscles to greater stimulus. Using a logbook just gives us a clear reference point so we know exactly what we need to do to make sure we are exposing the muscle to more stimulus. So we are doing more work. But you don't need it there. But I do recommend it because it helps. It's like, do you need running shoes to run? No, but it helps. So I would recommend the majority of people do logbook. And I like using a logbook. I like that element of training. I like going into a session, knowing what numbers I need to beat. I think that's the most enjoyable part. It feels like a real win when you get off a bit of kit and you know you are better than last week. You're clearly seeing that improvement. The stats don't lie. But one thing I would say is make sure you are videoing your sets, because what a lot of people do is they start to allow that accuracy to slip. They start performing movements with less control in order to get a few more reps. Now, if you do fall into that habit, you're not actually making true progress. Yeah, you might put a bit more weight on a bit of kit, but if you're slut dropping through an eccentric and like barely holding that shortened range, like barely pausing when the muscle's contracted, you're not going to be training accurately. So you do need to be a bit careful there. This hip press I've recently put in, it's a new bit of kit. I do like it apart from there's like nowhere to brace. I'm holding the safety pin, so I'm holding what the bit of kit will fall on if I was to fail. Taking risks out here, mate. The only problem here is it causes me to lean forward. So when I'm leaning forward into it, I do limit my range slightly, but it's still decent, still working through a decent degree of knee flexion. I only ran this once, so I did have baseline numbers to work from, and I was upper rep, first set, up 2 reps, second set, absolute menace today. And that's because the demons were welcome, mate. I said, come at me. I welcomed them with opened arms, and it was sound. When it comes down to top set songs as well, this is always a popular topic. I'm back listening to the drill. It's gone 360. When I first started training properly, it was always drill. And then when I came back from my beefer, I went through a weird phase of like listening to house. And then top set songs, I started to listen to really slow music. Hosier was on the playlist at all times at one point. And now we've gone full circle and it's just drill across the board. But if you listen to drill when you're not training, you need help. You need some serious help. Those lyrics are vile. They're only appropriate in a training environment. But as mentioned, this session has absolutely battered me. Post-workout, I'm sure other people are like this. I like to chill out and watch something completely different to like training or anything fitness related. So at the minute, I've been watching a fishing series on Netflix, and it absolutely slaps, mate. In another life, I think I'll be a fisherman. Well, I was going to say it looks good. It looks good if you're on a boat that's catching loads of fish. It looks miserable if you're on a boat that's getting nothing. That does look really rough. Leg extensions, as you can see here, concentric tempo slowing down involuntarily. I mentioned this in a previous YouTube video. We need to see these reps slow down involuntarily, otherwise you're not training effectively. Now, I'm meant to perform a seated leg curl after this. However, the seated leg curl at this gym broke, and then they fixed it, in quotation marks. What's happened is the pin that locks in the input pad has been made smaller. So every time you try and lock in, if you put any force against it, like up into it, which of course you will, it just pings out. So my first working set's 120 key. I had 80 on it, do my feeder sets, and it just kept pinging up. I thought, nah, I'm not having this. We'll go straight into our adductors. I might actually start performing this rotation at the other gym because their seated leg curl works fine, which, as you can imagine, is pretty helpful. When it comes down to this rotation as well, if you've been watching the YouTube channel and actually paying attention, which I'm sure is very few people, the line leg curl used to come in last. The reason I've put it up front is because I'm using the prime plate loaded one, and inertial effects come into play there. It's very hard to maintain position. So when I'm battered, there's just no way I can perform it accurately. If you do think about it, when you do perform a line leg curl, you need the ability to drive the hips down into the pad. So you're in hip extension. Your best chance at doing that is at the start. But the reason I had it at the end previously was because I was using a pin loaded variation, so it's easy to do. And also it's a bit of a spine decompressor after the hip hinge and the leg press. But if you haven't got hip hinge in, I would always say do lying first. But if you do, lying after could be beneficial to help the spine out a bit. But like I said, that plate loaded variation, inertial effects hammer, so I have been placing it at the start. 5 working sets of a seated calf raise to finish off. Beautiful stuff. 5 working sets. Yeah, it is a lot, but calves are super stubborn. They can be abused, they can get battered and recover, so we run with 5. You'll see here I'm doing like these little length and partials near the end. I've always done this, even though the studies have recently come out saying length and partials are beneficial for hypertrophy. I've always done it just because it gets a filthy pump. And I just want it to look like I got some kind of calf growth. That session done. Check the quad to make sure they're still there. Remember to like, subscribe, comment if you're feeling dangerous, and I'll see you in the next one.